So again, I know I do. I'm not on camera. I'm very much aware of that. Um, I just want to get down some notes and some information that at this point in time you are privy to. I don't know for how long. um, as some of you may know, I am writing books, a few books, and I've found myself in a situation where I need to start, scheduling, organizing which one's going to happen first. And I kind of know which one's going to happen first, but I need to get the others moving along on the pipeline here. And part of it is that I need a way to capture my thoughts while I'm thinking them and working on some research and other stuff like that. So, um, if you want to go back and make sure you listen to the first part of this free flow, go for it. Just talking about some background knowledge on history and the education system and this book that I'm rereading for the day job. And yeah. But this is strictly for me to geek out on now and for potentially the book. So, a lot of people who are coming into spirituality, they see all the shiny, sparkly stuff of, being spiritual and all the fun part, right? And then there's some people who are starting to hear and learn about the shadow work and the mirror work and the the hard parts, right? So when it starts to get to be real and not kind of play around anymore, shadow work will definitely do that to you. Okay. And it is the soul searching, right? And that's usually where people normally would have gone to religion for answers. And I said that in the first part of my free flow is like, we're all in this soup together. Nobody has all the answers, but everybody is the answer. Okay. Um, so yeah. And with that, it was like when people come into spirituality, they're just hoping that they can do what people call spiritual bypass and be like good vibes only and all this other stuff, or they're going through the motions, the physicality of it all, and they don't even realize how they have to embody all of this together for it to work. This is also where you get the skeptics. And when I say skeptic, I mean it in the purest form versus the people who are just looking to just, deflect. Okay. So they're the deflectors that, people who are just like, well, tell me this, well, give me this. And, they don't really want to know. Once you recognize that kind of person, disengage because they don't really want to know. They're just trying to just be contrarian. Okay. But the true skeptic wants more evidence, and with that evidence they want more to think on, right? Versus it might come off as being negative, but really it's just like, well, I just want more information. What's wrong with more information? um so through my notes, and like I said, I'm pulling up papers, sorry. It's too late at night. And I'm I've been a meditator for some years now, and I've also um, practiced. I don't even know if there's a word because I wasn't meditating when I was doing this. It's like tuning. The best way I can describe is tuning my body with crystal bowls and binaural beats. So tuning my body, even before I became a more scheduled and practiced meditator. And there is there is like science to this, and there's applicable science now. Like if you've heard of the I might be saying this wrong, but there is sonic surgery now where like sound waves are used to make adjustments inside your body, and it is a thing. So what I've this particular lecture that I'm revisiting and making sure I take notes on is about the the nervous system, but then the systems around the system. So we've got the nervous system, yeah, with the brain and the spinal cord and the nerve endings and all that good stuff. So that's the reason why you feel pain. It's the reason why you can move and function and use your, 3D body. Then there is, I'm going to throw this other, because I'm trying to put these two together, but the lymphatic system. And that is your immunity system. And it's also kind of like electrical, physical, like it's your electrical system, right? Let me double check here. Because again, I'm trying to make that connection. Lymphatic. There we go. So I've been trying to make that connection. So yes, the nervous system and the lymphatic system, they're very much in tune with each other. Okay. So yeah, it's a part of the immune system. It complements also the circulatory system, which is your blood, right? And your nutrients, your minerals, okay? Your minerals. And it is your kind of like your drainage system. It's basically like the sanitation system. It's like, look, it's time to get rid of some bad stuff out of your system that couldn't be taken out through like the skin or your stomach, or I'm trying to think of, I can't remember the other thing. But yeah, so the lymphatic system, there you go. And then I'm also learning more that there's yet another system. Like I'm sure there's a few more systems, but from, me talking right now, system I'm talking about is it is a water system, but it is a system that contains your cerebral spinal fluid. Okay? And what's fascinating to me is like it's almost like, okay, yeah, people talk about kundalini all the time, and they're talking about how breath work is supposed to activate your kundalini, but nobody's talking about or can make the connection of the science, right? So here we are. I feel like a lot of this new research is based on now they're trying to make those connections. So the cerebral spinal fluid is yet another like kind of system, but that system, let me see, I'm trying to look for the thing that's going to help me. Okay, so that might help. It is a system that encases your brain and encases your spinal column. Well, not the bone part, but the nerve endings. And let's see, how best can I describe it? It's like putting, I don't know, putting like an ice cube in a glass of water, but your brain is the ice cube. And that's the best way. Yeah, so your brain is in your skull, but it's also floating in water. And then the water is also going through your spinal column. Okay? and I feel like I'm again not properly saying this right. So spinal cord is the electricity. So maybe column is, they're all in there, but they're not mixed up together. They're not together. Okay, they are not together. You don't mix electricity and water, not always. And at certain points in your body, you do for it to work, right? And what you want to be able to do is to know how to activate these other systems. You know, and I think that's the one thing that bugs me the most about spirituality right now. There's a lot of bros out there. They're like, I want to do Kundalini. It's like, sir, there's a process here, the journey. Okay, the whole point of spirituality is the journey. Okay, the journey. We already know how it's going to end. Okay, we're all going to pass on into the next realm. We all are. Okay, and it's the journey. Sorry, I needed to get a sip of a beverage there. But our cerebral spinal fluid is our life water. And I've been on that for a while. It's like not just in the body system, but water has so many properties that it's ridiculous. It's like, yes, it's hydrogen and oxygen, but it's also a carrier for other energy forces. Okay? If you've ever seen the Hashimoto's experiment, a lot of people were like poo-pooing on that a few years ago, and now there's again back on it. And then there's even those, if you've ever watched any of those experiments, sound experiments with water, and then there's cymetics. Oh my goodness! So years ago, I started getting into cymetics and that's why I started tuning my body with binaural beats. And it is such a fascinating thing on how we want, I don't know, we want an easy experience in life, but we don't want to do the work. We're all looking for an easy out when really we all chose to come down, right? We all chose to make it here. And then, oh goodness. And then there's those like me, like I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I just want to make the connections. I just want to be able to, I know it works, but I want to know how I know it works, right? And there's a faction of people who are actively working on doing just that, trying to figure out how it works, like inside of the scientific method as much as possible. But even this particular lecture was so fascinating, where he's given all the science, he's given all the things and all the identifications and what the properties of this fluid, which is basically not very different from salt water. So again, this is me and my connections again, polymathing. Didn't life come from the sea? From the primordial ooze or whatever is what they're calling it. You know, they came from the sea. And the way that this man, you know, and this lecturer is Dr. Maruo Zapatera, Dr. Zapatera. So I've seen and read some of his work before, and he makes a lot of good points. So I'm definitely at the tag. And he also mentioned one of my other people that I tend to, you know, pay attention, Dr. Dean Radin, who is basically trying to scientifically prove magic, labeling it instead of calling it magic. So yeah, so they're trying to make the connections. So the properties of this spinal fluid is no different than ocean water. It carries sound. It carries minerals. It is a waste removal system. He's talking about how this fluid bathes the brain nightly at sleep time, you know, for sleeping. Let me see what else. Ionic balance. Again, electric, salt water. Hello, all the things. Battery system. Our bodies are our own energy sources. Okay, this is so. Oh my gosh, it's getting even deeper than deep. So yeah, it took the egg and the sperm to get the cells together, and yeah, maybe it took love from mommy. Or maybe not. Sometimes people get pregnant and they don't know they're pregnant, but the spark came and it came. Okay? So inside of us is that regenerative spark. And it's that fluid that keeps it moving through our bodies. This is so cool. Um, what else does it do? I'm looking again back through my notes. So yeah, so it's a pretty nifty part of our brain. So yeah, like it's brain cleansing. This water, okay, in our brains. And what I was also thinking is that our brains are made of oil and fat. So it's almost like they are protecting each other because oil and water doesn't mix, right? It's almost like they're protecting and using each property and separating at the same time. Like if you ever see a lava lamp, that's kind of what I'm thinking of. It's like they're in each other, they're using each other, they're embracing each other, but they're still not in, like, they know that they are separate, but they're together. That's the best way I can explain that. So there you go. But I find this so, like, I don't know, I find this so fascinating. That's why I'm such a nerd. But yeah, so the properties of water, all that we have learned about what happens outside of our bodies in water, happens even with this cerebral. Sorry, I'm turned in an odd position and talking at the same time. I'm so excited, and I'm kind of dry, so I need more water. Their cerebral spinal fluid can do these things and activate that kundalini that I know. The only reason why I want to investigate kundalini rising is because I did start having some symptoms a few months ago when meditating, and I was having what they call kiras. It's like involuntarily shaking of your body. It's like flexing, tensing, and that is a thing that I didn't know. Like it was even hard for me to find that, but when meditating, some things physical does happen to your body. It's because the pulses of your electric body is trying to come through, and you may have blocks, for which I've realized I had some blocks. I have blocks that I'm working on, and there are these things that I wish. And again, this is new science, and this is like even a branch of you know steps ahead, new but old research. It's like we knew it, but we didn't know it until we started finally putting the pieces together. And I'm feeling like I'm happy that there are more people finding their spiritual path, but I'm a little worried that there are also people again looking for that one person, that one guru, that one whatever to tell them what to do. And that is not what spirituality is. Like even this whole recording is me putting the pieces together of things that I've read months ago, things I've tried, things I already knew. Is you've got to learn to be in the world and take in all of this data into you, trauma and all, and start learning how to process it. And I think that maybe that's the basis of this particular recording, is because what I'm finding is that people just want an easy fix, and there's just not easy in the way that they think easy. But I mean, there is an easy fix, there really is, but um, it depends on what people classify what easy is, right? And I'm just, I'm concerned that because there's such an influx of curiosity, it seems like, into the spiritual world, but there's also the flash and the sparkles and the dog and pony show part of it too, that a lot of people are getting caught up into the good parts. Some are some are starting to realize, like, uh-oh, I got to do this dark work and know the dark work. Live in it, know that it is necessary. And there's some who are trying to, let's see, make being spiritual a patriarch, kind of a patriarch system. That I know is hard to say. But even, yeah, again, today there are some people who they say in words that they're spiritual, but their approach is not spiritual. They, again, I feel like there are people who have knowledge, and then there are people who are, again, this is what I mean by the shadow work, the mirror work. Like you're trying out this knowledge and you're pushing it through your system. It is the journey. And then there are people who are practicing it, knowing that they're not perfect. They're just now functioning more in it, in the flow, in the doing, being, versus just knowing. And that's, yeah, and why that bothers me, that's again part of my mirror work. Even as a life coach, I'm very grateful and thankful that I am finding more people who are open to what I'm saying to them, to the point where I'm moving my newsletter over to a different venue of sorts. But I mean, you can still get it if you want it. And I'm literally trying to incorporate everything that I am as a person into one entity. So over at my newsletter, you get to see my full name and, my shenanigans at school, or not really, let me take that back. So more insights, again, as an educator and a creator. And so I wonder that how is everybody's path, or how is their journey going? Because I will admit, like, get still triggered now, what, people were calling hoteps or photeps or whatever. It's like people are putting on the clothes of spirituality, literally, and or saying the right words, but they're not really being it. And I've already done a video about this a couple of weeks ago about, pretty much that, encountering somebody who, if you saw them on the street, be like, oh, he's super spiritual, and really, he could be, but he could also just as easily not be by his actions, right? And so even today, there is this one host of a podcast that I really don't care much for him because I feel like, or maybe, I don't know, so I want to give him, and that's the thing about really being curious in the spiritual path. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt of the venue that he's in. And when it comes to certain things, when people present themselves in the world a certain way, it's based on how they were raised. It's based on what what when they were young thought was valuable is valued, unless they have gone through some deep transformations in their lives. And there's not um, deep transformation when you are always, as they say, rising and grinding, and you're always, oh, well, I'm the man and this and that, you know. So that's maybe the bigger issue that I'm having right now, that I am seeing a lot of people moving into the spiritual world and they're still bringing non, I can't say non-spiritual because that's not true. They're still bringing the woundedness over and thinking that is the ideal. So people, I hope, you know, when I say this, that it's not taken the wrong way. Celebrate your wounds. I've said this before about the badge and the shield. It's like people wear their baggage like a badge. Like, look at me. It's like, okay, yeah, we all have things, right? And I'm not saying that somebody, I'm not negating what they're going through, but there are some people who wear it like this is this is who I am, and this is all I am, and this is how small I am, is this wound. That's basically what they're saying. I am small because of this wound. This is my anchor. And when we move into this world of spirituality, we can acknowledge the wound, but we are not the wound. We can go past the wound. Okay? And that's kind of where I was going with that. So there's some other notes that I want to do some more investigating. But this, you know, this spinal fluid, this is cool. You know, it's like water is powerful. It's so powerful. And I just hope that more of us, you know, can get into identifying the science of our spirituality. Just like, you know, this particular doctor, thank you. And I don't know. Truly make this world a better place in some ways, or at least have more access. Some people just don't know what they don't know. And that's kind of where I am with that. And that's what's holding me steady in this spiritual space right now. And some people don't know what they don't know until they know. And that goes for all of us, really, if you really want to, you know, boil it down. So I'm going to finish some notes. It's getting late. I need to have a regular bedtime now. And take care out there. Bye.